What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Let us fire it up. I'm going to get so owned in this game. It's time that we get to the Steam Top 50 and seeing what the latest trends are. Gary's mod. There's TF2. It's usually around somewhere. Woo! Oh, it's snakes. Does it just have really high retention? This genre is still viable. Or you just gotta shoot his butt. There was kind of a trend for a while. Like that is just the way things work. We did it! What is up, everybody? Good to see you, chums. Should be a good Clark Tank today. Many things to go over. So yeah, some interesting things to go over today. Some folks in our Discord suggested some good topics of discussion. If you're not already in our Discord, please join it. Just search for Brace Yourself Games Discord. But yeah, one of the first, I think it might even have been the first Clark Tank we ever did. We talked about Manifold Garden. Oh, there's KitFox Games. We'll click on KitFox Games and drop them a follow for sure. But yeah, one of the first Clark Tanks, I think it might have been the very first. We played and we talked about Manifold Garden, and we were trying to analyze how well it would do. At the beginning, I'm not sure how many of you in the chat watched those ancient Clark Tanks, but at the very beginning, we were trying to estimate how well games would sell. Trying to come up with a method of doing that, and I think that method was not bad, but eventually stopped doing that because, well, first of all, if I was wrong, I didn't want people to, be misled and possibly bet the farm on their game, expecting it to do extremely well. But more importantly, because what we want to do, and the reason why I do the Clark Tank, and hopefully you do too, is you want to be able to predict not all games, but just one game correctly, because that's what you're trying to decide before you make a game. Like, which of these game designs should I be using, right? And you want to look at them all and decide, hey, which one is in a viable genre, and which one, is hooky enough to grab attention, and which one can I make sweet trailers for that people are gonna check out and share and stuff like that. So that is the skill that we want. I don't think we necessarily need the skill to estimate all games accurately. You just want to be very sure when you pick that one. So that's not really what we were doing. But yeah, Manifold Garden is a game made by William Cheer, also a streamer, a dev streamer. He streams actual video game development. I don't do that business. But yeah, it's on Apple Arcade and Epic, and I enjoyed it when I played it back then. And I've been seeing some good reviews for it, so I do want to check it out again. Considered playing this and another game today, but Disco Elysium is what we're going to play. It just seems so noteworthy. We need to check that out and learn about it. But yeah, congrats to William. He is such an awesome dude, and it's great to see his game released after all this time, and seems to be doing well for him too, which is awesome to see. Congrats, William. But we also have Kine launched since the last Clark Tank. This is made by Gwen, who sometimes frequents the Clark Tank too, and she's been working on this for a while and pulled off the amazing feat of launching it on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Switch, and Stadia and Epic Game Store all at once. I think all on the 17th, which is pretty nuts. So congrats to Gwen for doing that. She is a pretty impressive human and game developer. You should. Well, if someone has a link to her on Twitter, I think it's Dire Goldfish is her username. But you should be following her and learning from her, because she is one smart cookie, that is for sure. Yeah, Gwen managed to launch it on all of these different platforms, and make some sweet business deals and stuff too. She's impressive. So yeah, follow her on the Twitters and learn from her for sure. So yeah, it's cool to see two folks, related to the Clark Tank, launching awesome games and being successful in the last few weeks. And yeah, speaking of the last few weeks, I was away in Poland last week, in Poznan, at the GIC conference, which is pretty sweet. This conference was a lot bigger than I was expecting. It's kind of like, I thought that it was mainly going to be for game developers, but they also have a very large part of the show for consumers. It seemed just like a PAX. I think somebody told me that it was about 60 or 70,000 people. There were a lot of booths and big companies. Nintendo was there and stuff like that. So it was pretty huge, and the conference itself was great. There were lots of well-known speakers coming from all over the place to give talks there. So if you ever happen to be in the vicinity of Poland in October, you should check it out. I think my talk had many hundreds of folks at it, and lots of Clark Tank viewers, lots of people asking questions afterwards, and they seem to enjoy it. So we're spreading the word about the things that we do at the Clark Tank, and I mentioned all of you, Clark Tank viewers during the talk too, and how much we learn together, and how much I would be missing out on if it weren't for you. So as usual, thank you all for hanging out with me and sharing your insights. But yeah, it was a pretty sweet conference, and one of the things I've talked about a lot on the Clark Tank, but I never actually made like a graph for it. I did it for the talk in Poland, and yeah, I've said before, partly talking about team size, how these days it seems like a lot of folks are kind of scaling up their teams because they think that they need to be bigger in order to compete with the AAA, the larger indies and whatnot. And I always say, hey, you definitely don't need to be big in order to succeed massively. Like, look at Minecraft or look at Stardew Valley. There are plenty of games that were made by one person or very small teams and have made tens of millions or even billions of dollars. So your upside is not capped because your team is small, but you definitely increase your risk by increasing your team size. But yeah, I think what's more important than team size is just having the right game idea and the right team, the right ideas. And so, yeah, I made this chart just to say, like, it's a fake chart. It's not real data, but it's something that I always try to keep in mind as we're developing games. It's like the amount of money you put in compared to the return you get on your investment, there's some shape to it. And at the beginning, if you don't spend anything, it's probably going to be hard to get ROI, although it shouldn't be zero here, because there are plenty of games that were made basically for nothing, although people don't count what they would have been paying for rent, even if they were living with their parents, or what they would have been paying for food, that sort of thing. But yeah, obviously the more time and effort you spend, the more likely it is that your game will generate some income. And at some point there's a peak. There might be multiple peaks depending on the game. Like maybe there's one peak for, if you do single player, and then there might be a second higher peak for if you actually add multiplayer. But in between, there's a trough. But yeah, my point with making this slide is just that to say that this peak is probably closer to the left than most people think. Especially with indie games, the reason why people play indie games typically is because there's something unique about it. There's some hook that they want to experience. And, having 100 hours of gameplay or something like that, they might enjoy it more that way, but they'll probably experience the hook, the uniqueness of your game in the first few hours, right? So, you might make more money total by spending more and more time on it, but your return on your investment and the return on your time, I think, is going to decline. And an example that I used in my talk was, if we'd spent $10 million more making Crypt of the Necrodancer, would our return on each of those dollars have been higher as a result? We would have made more money total for sure, but it wouldn't have been 10x or something like what it was from what we spent. I think we could possibly even have made Necrodancer a little smaller than it was. But yeah, the point is, there's a kernel, there's an essence of your game that people want, and giving them that, and maybe a little bit more, polishing it up and whatnot, is probably what gets you to this peak. But a lot of indie devs, me included, really fall in love with our games and think of all the cool features that we could add, and feature creep happens. But I think if you keep this graph in mind, it might help you to stave off feature creep for sure. Lily, you're saying this graph is reflective of your experience. Only few games you play from start to finish. Yeah, exactly. You play it until you experience the cool thing that you wanted to after viewing their trailer and whatnot, and then you're like, okay, I get it now. What does ROI stand for? Is return on investment. So if you spend $1 and you get $10 back, that's an ROI of 10. So yeah, I'm saying, like, if you spend $700,000 here, and ROI is 9, you get 9 times 700, so you get $6.3 million back. And yeah, for Necrodancer, I think our ROI was was 9 or 10. Partly because we kept the game relatively small, we kept the team relatively small, and we did, we implemented what was special about it, and then we stopped. I think we probably could have made it a little smaller, but because the game was selling well in early access when we only had 3 zones, so we possibly could even have stopped there. But anyway, I've mentioned this sort of concept a number of times on the Clark Tank before, but I never actually made this graph, and so now that I've made it, I wanted to share it with y'all. Have any tips to identify those ROI budget peaks? Oh, that's an interesting question, Hopfrog. Yeah, I guess my main tip is that your instinct is probably that it's like out here or something, but it's far further to the left than your instincts are probably suggesting to you. But there are definitely, depending on the game, there are probably other peaks that could be generated. So multiplayer is one. I've seen a lot of games, once they add multiplayer or once they add, online multiplayer, especially if they were a local co-op game, then they get massive spikes from that sort of thing. I don't think necessarily it's the case for all games, so it's going to be different. But like Gang Beasts, it was selling really well as a local co-op game, but then they added online multi, and it sold even better after that. So significant features that change the way the game feels, I think those are the things that are more likely to generate bumps. Whereas if you're just like adding a bit more content or another level or something like that, that's not significantly different from what already is in the game, that's probably unlikely to make a bump. Just more of what's there. If it already feels like enough, if it already feels like a complete game, a complete package that allows the player to experience, the core concept of the game, then adding just more of that probably is not going to help you. But if there's an entirely new feature that changes the way that it is played, like multiplayer, then I think that could move the needle. Things that also improve retention, I think, can move the needle. Like we did add daily challenges to Necrodancer. I think that helped. We also spent time making sure that the game was speedrunnable, making it as fun as possible for speedrunners, and people still speedrun it to this day. So those sorts of things that improve your retention, I think, can help as well. But you have to judge each of those features based on how much effort, because if it was going to take another $1 million to add a daily challenge or something, then no, I don't think it would have been worth the effort. So it's somewhat subjective, as many things. But anyway, I just think that a lot of people don't even consider this sort of thing. So keep this graph in your mind as you're deciding what features to add. You love multiplayer games, but they seem to succeed or fail based on marketing. Yeah, well, there's tricky things that you can do to help a multiplayer game succeed. That the empty lobbies problem is huge, and if you are planning to make a multiplayer only game, you need to have some sort of solution for that, such as practicing against CPUs while you wait for someone to join, or starting a game and letting people hot join. There's a lot of different things that games have done to help alleviate that and make it more likely that someone will stick around and wait for a challenger. But yeah, it's true. Multiplayer games seem to, they have some sort of critical mass, and they either hit it or they don't. But you can change what that critical mass level is with some clever design. But first, so we're going to play Disco Elysium later, so let's check out the trailer for it. It's almost a 3-minute trailer.
An open world RPG.
It's a weird whispery sort of voice.
Anything you've seen before.
Interesting art style. It's painterly, but 3D. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about this as well, which is why I wanted to experience it. People are saying that it's very unique in a number of ways. So the voice is not Ryan-esque. No, I guess it's the opposite of what I do.
Fall hopelessly in love.
That's how I do it.
Cases to be solved.
Yeah, it seems to be selling well, Hopfrog, exactly. It's a unique sort of thing, and it's selling well, so I'm like, we gotta learn about this. It got me curious, but it got me curious like early on. So yeah, I feel like I would have stopped a little earlier if it were me. But anyway, it's came out, what is it, 2 weeks ago. It's already got 1,200 reviews, quite positive. So yeah, we'll be playing that a little later on the Clark Tank. But first, we have many things to discuss and analyze and all that good stuff. I've been saying for a while that we really need to be able to analyze Switch sales, because the Switch has become a huge part of the success of many indies that I know. Here at Brace Yourself Games, for the longest time, our biggest source of income was Steam. But since we've released Necrodancer on the Switch, it's just been doing better and better there. And of course, releasing Cadence of Hyrule on the Switch also helped Necrodancer sell better. So it's a huge part of our revenue right now. So we need to be paying attention to it and trying to figure out what games sell there and what don't. But as I said last Clark Tank, we don't have great tools for analyzing what games are selling there. All there are the top sellers charts, which is good enough. But even the top sellers charts, you can only see them like on your Switch in the eShop. There's no great way to see it online. Occasionally there are articles like this that come out that list the top sellers, but this one is out of whack. And yeah, that's why I was saying last Clark Tank, it'd be great if anyone is aware of some website that does scraping of the actual eShop data. Or I guess we could start going into the eShop manually and just every week taking a manual writing down the names of the games that are in there so that we can kind of keep track. But yeah, this one is supposedly the top eShop games for September, but Link's Awakening is not in here. So it seems wrong because Link's Awakening came out like on the 20th and it was at the top of the charts. Also, is Goose Game? Goose Game's not in here. And Goose Game actually displaced Link's Awakening at the top of the charts. So I don't know what's up with this chart, but it's pretty much wrong in my opinion. However, I got a second chart from the same publication also saying that they got this data from Nintendo, but this is for Japan only, and this chart looks more correct. It has Link's Awakening at the top. I think it has Goose Game. Yep, it has Goose Game as well. Maybe Goose Game just didn't sell as well in Japan as it did in other parts of the world. Because where I'm from, I was checking the top sellers charts on the eShop, and Goose Game here in Canada did manage to dethrone Link's Awakening at the #1 spot. But yeah, Human Fall Flat. It was on sale. That's why it was up here. Undertale was on sale. Necrodancer also was on sale and did really well, was in the charts for a while. Astral Chain did come out, somewhat recently. It makes sense. Moon. Wait, why is Moon in here if it came out was it in pre-orders? Because this is supposed to be September charts. So yeah, it must have been up for pre-order and already selling that well. Yeah, what else? Fire Emblem. So yeah, Goose Game is the next indie game that's in the charts. Dead by Daylight, so it came out at the end of September. Minecraft is not surprising. I'm not aware of this game. Breath of the Wild. So, there aren't too many indie games in here. And some of the ones that are in here were because they were on sale. But yeah, I think next Clark Tank, before the show, I'll just manually scrape the top charts, and we can discuss it that way. But if anyone is aware of a way of doing it in an automated fashion, please do let me know, because that would be a great tool for us to have. Oh, what the heck? This is supposed to be a link to Lars's post about the Steve Diving Bell. Here we go. Going live on Steam. But yeah, I think, Lars, you said that it was actually on... Oh, I don't know if Lars is still in the chat, but you said that it was recently on the front page of Steam, so it was getting more traffic. I don't know if you can share any information about that with us, but it's cool to see, and hopefully, by giving it more traffic rather than hiding it behind the labs section of the store, we'll get some actual real data about how discoverability tools like yours actually affects sales and what people do on the store. Yeah, it's good for indies if more, a wider variety of games are discoverable on Steam, because that reduces the winner takes all sort of nature of Steam. Whenever we have time to hang out with Valve folks at various shows, they do roundtables and discussions with indies. And yeah, the last time I think I brought up hey, it would be great if you could start A/B testing with real data, and I'm sure they were already planning to do that. It's not not some amazing insight that I came up with, but it's cool to see that they're doing it now so that they can test it with real Steam users, because previously you could only see these tools like Lars's tool and some stuff that Ichiro is working on, and the automated recommender You could only see those if you went to the labs page and then browsed it, but only a small subset of Steam users know about labs or care about that sort of thing. So we need to, test it with real, your average Steam user and see how they interact with it. So I'm hoping that Valve will see positive results of these sorts of things, that people check out games that they would not otherwise have checked out and actually buy them. Because if they do, then Valve will be incentivized to do more such experiments that might help spread the eyeballs across more games on Steam, and that will benefit indies and niche games for sure. Congrats, Lars. It's awesome to see your experiment hit the big time on Steam, and fingers crossed that it really has an effect. The remote play together we were talking about a little earlier in the show. So what this is it allows you to play local multiplayer games with friends remotely. So I guess it just streams it to that other user. It streams the video and captures their input and sends that input back to your local machine. And so depending on the latency between you and your friend, it could be okay. And depending on the game, I was wondering if anyone has tried this yet with Necrodancer, because you can play co-op Necrodancer, but the latency would be pretty important because you're trying to move on the beat. Some of the songs, are close to 180 BPM, which is, moving 3 times a second-ish. So if you have 100 milliseconds of latency, that could make it difficult for you to stay on the beat. I don't know if anyone has given that a shot yet, but if you have, let me know. But anyway, it's cool to see Valve adding more features like this, making it easier for indies like us. So Valve has been busy. Also, they keep putting out this monthly list of top releases, which is awesome to see. So let's take a look at what was new in September 2019 session. Skateboarding sim game. I'm not aware of this one. Let's check this out. We'll watch the trailer in a sec. The Surge 2. I don't remember if we watched that one. Let's check that one out too. It's always funny that games like this that are like kind of niche but big niche. Like, I'm not a skateboarding person. Like, how many people are there that skateboard? I guess a lot, if games like this can get in the top sellers charts, and all the Tony Hawk games and stuff did so well. Just not my niche, so I don't feel it personally. Oh, you can move the park benches around. Every skateboarder's fantasy. I don't know, these ones just seem like too realistic to me. I feel like I would care about them if I knew anything about skateboarding, but since I don't, I'm like, what am I supposed to be getting hyped about there if I'm not a skateboarding person? All right, wow, 1,400 reviews already in a month. That's pretty good. The Surge 2, I don't think that we checked this out. What even is this game? Is it like action RPG? I don't understand. I guess this game was in the top sellers of September charts, but personally, I don't understand the fantasy of this. Like, there's just so many games that do this, where you just get to be some sort of badass sci-fi person and beat up on miscellaneous other sci-fi enemies. What is the hook? It's a Souls-like? Okay, I guess I could see that. Souls-likes do sell reasonably well these days, so it's a sci-fi Souls-like with dismemberment and equipment stealing. So it seemed like a pretty high budget game to have only got 1,000 reviews after a month. I might be a bit disappointing. All right, next up, I wanted to talk about a thread by Derek Yu, where he was talking about there's a lot of folks like us here and others who talk about what you should do and what you shouldn't do if you're an indie, if you want to succeed. Derek is saying that people could get overwhelmed by reading about all the small optimizations that they could be doing to improve their chances. And I think that the TLDR of this thread is basically, you need to promote your game, but a lot of things that you could be doing that you're reading about perhaps might only be a tiny multiplier. And whether or not that's worth it depends on you, which is true. But I think that even if the multiplier is like a 10 times multiplier, if your game the sales are at 0, then 10 times 0 is still 0, or if your sales are extremely low. But yeah, I do agree that the most important thing is coming up with a design that is marketable and can sell well on its own to begin with. And then once you have that, then yes, you should do your A/B testing, and you should do all the smart things to make your trailers effective and your store page effective. Because if you're already, if your game is going to sell 100,000 copies, but you can 2x that by having a great store page and great trailers, then hey, that's a lot of money. But to be worrying about all of those little micro optimizations early on, even before you know that your game is going to, actually find an audience, yeah, it's premature optimization. But I do think that it still makes sense to think about in advance how you're going to do those things. Like, if you can't think of a way to make a trailer for your game, then how are you going to promote it? How is it going to succeed? How is it going to sell in the first place? But yeah, Derek is right that focusing on the game itself is the most important thing. There's a lot of other stuff that can bog you down. So I retweeted that one because I think he's right on that. And yeah, what Chris is talking about in his link here, and he posted the link in chat, is what you do, you personally do, and what you should do would change depending on, what stage you are at in your career, or, what stage your company is at. So yeah, doing what Blizzard doesn't make sense for you as a small indie. And yeah, Chris goes on and he talks about, if you've never released a game commercially on your own, you're self-funding it, you have no, network, what should you do in that case? Well, yeah, you should be... What I was doing back then was, I was honing my skills, trying to, get better at designing games, go out and meet people so that, when I wanted to form a team, I would know other talented people to work with. And then, yeah, after a while, you start releasing games, and you know more people. You're going to conferences and stuff like that. That's going to change, what you'll be doing with your games. And I would say it's also not necessarily just based on your experience, but it can also be based on how your game is doing. Because if you launch your first game and it's already a hit, then you might jump, a few levels ahead. But if you launch your first few games and none of them really find any traction, then that's going to change what you should be doing next. So yeah, I think Chris's article is a good description of the things that you should be considering, in terms of how far along you are in your career or your success path, and what are the things that you can do, that you should be doing, depending on how far along you are. Yeah, like Hopfrog for sure. He's made a really successful game, and it's selling really well on lots of different platforms. So what he should be doing, you'll probably be closer to this level 3 kind of section. So yeah, some of the stuff that we do here at Brace Yourself Games, where we spend lots of money going to conventions, travel around to different shows and give talks in far-flung places on Earth. I think those things are valuable, but probably not if you're just starting out. It probably makes more sense for you to be spending your money elsewhere. So yeah, thanks Chris for pointing all this stuff out, and for Derek for getting that conversation started. And yeah, someone in the Discord posted a link to this. So Kingblade Dev, are you in the chat there? You are. You should be following Kingblade. He's got some interesting insights. Yeah, what this is about is an analysis of which tag mixes work the best on Steam, which is pretty cool. So Kingblade was taking a look at, you choose 3 tags and take a look at, sales results, well, a proxy of sales results, which is total number of reviews for that group of 3 tags. And so, for example, if you want to try to find what is the easiest niche to target on Steam, Kingblade took a look at, what are the games that have, the groups of 3 tags that have a decent number of reviews for each of the games, but not that many games in those niches. So he found if you have the tags anime, FPS, and mature, the lowest game of the 10 games, you know, that satisfy these three criteria, the lowest has 177 minimum reviews. So that's, you know, a reasonably successful game if it's a smaller one. Nudity FPS mature is similar. FPS sexual content mature is similar. So there's not very many games serving these niches, but they sell a decent number of copies. So if you can make a small game that could be profitable with, you know, this number of sales, then hey, that's a possible genre combination for you that could work. So yeah, basically what this is just a list of all possible combinations of 3 tags, and then you can see, okay, what are the minimum number of reviews for that combination? What's the maximum? And then you can see like different percentiles. And so, you know, if you're thinking of making, for example, I'll search for tactics, because hey, we're doing that with Fanta Brigade. So if you're making an adventure fantasy turn-based tactics game, you know, the maximum, the game with the most reviews has 6,000, but the minimum is pretty low. So I guess ideally, if you want safety, you might look for genres where the minimum is high. So I think the percentages mean if you look at the top, you know, 50% best-selling games, what is the minimum review count that you would have there? So yeah, RPG, turn-based tactics, difficult. Again, 6,000 something. So it means, you know, it's possible to succeed with this combination. So yeah, if you're thinking about making a tactics game, it would make sense to go through and look at all the different times it gets highlighted in here. This seems a lot more based on genre than hook. Yeah, Chris, that's a good point. Well, I think this is more like, so when you try to figure out, should you be making game A or B or C and choosing which one is viable, you obviously want to analyze the hooks, but I think hooks are separate from genre. When you're looking at genre, you're more trying to decide, is it a viable genre? Is there an audience there? And so I do think that this spreadsheet can be useful for that, because you just want to see, you know, these are the types of tags that would pertain to this game idea that I have. And then you can go and see, are there other games, you know, that are similar, and have they been successful as well? It's just a different way of slicing and dicing the data, because you could just go to Steam and search for that one tag. You could search for turn-based and just go through and see all the turn-based tactics games that are there, you know, sort by best-selling and stuff like that. But yeah, this is just an interesting way of visualizing it because of the combinations. But yeah, it's a neat way of analyzing stuff. And yeah, if you are looking for, you know, underserved niches, you can look for the number of games that are in there. So if there are not very many games, but the games that are there have sold well, that might mean that there's less competition for you. So yeah, it's just a cool breakdown. All right, so this is the ICO Steam Newsletter. We check this out every Clark Tank just to make sure we're not missing anything that is selling well. So Rise to Ruins, this was in early access before, wasn't it? Chernobylite, I think we looked at this, didn't we? Beat Hazard 2 by Cold Bean Games. I think it was in early access. It must have come out of early access. Rebel Inc. All right, let's take a look at these. Oh, and Roof Rage 2. Sweet. All right, let's take a look at these. So yeah, Rise to Ruin, it must have come out of... Yeah, it must have just launched out of early access now. So it's a village sim, which is definitely a viable genre. And 4,000-ish reviews for, you know, an indie game. It doesn't look like a super high budget indie game. I'm sure this was very profitable. So yeah, this is the type of thing that you could, you know, reasonably predict based on doing things like we do on the Clark Tank, that, hey, sim games, especially, you know, city building games, or even, I'm not sure if it's tower defense-y in the way that you defend your city, but those types of games are viable for sure. Marlon saying Rise to Ruins has been streaming nonstop since it was in early access. Oh, okay. They would just loot old streams constantly. Yeah, I thought about us doing that sort of thing, but it, I don't know, it feels weird. And I do know that I think Everspace, back when that streaming ability on Steam first came out, I think games like Everspace and others, you know, benefited a lot from jumping on it early. So yeah, I wonder if part of Rise to Ruin's success has been the streaming, because yeah, if you go to the Steam front page, there is a section for streaming now. So if you can get in this, you know, section, then you're going to get all these front page eyeballs on your game. Now, it's a lot harder to do now than it used to be. You need thousands of viewers. But if you can get those thousands of viewers, that's going to propel you into the charts. They're one of the first to do it consistently. Okay, yeah, that would definitely affect their results. Okay, well, good to see Rise to Runes doing well. Postal 4, no regrets. Uh-oh, there's peeing. Okay, maybe we're not going to watch this. Satirical and outrageous comedic open-world first-person shooter in the long-awaited true sequel to what's been fondly dubbed as the worst game ever, Postal 2. Oh, so they just went straight to 4 and went no regrets. I see. It's humorous. So yeah, is this early access? Yeah. So it's early access now. Wow, 2,000 reviews since the 14th, although controversial games, and this may be a controversial game, get more reviews per unit sold than other games, so you need to keep that in mind. So it's possible that it's not selling quite as well as it seems, but, you know, 2,000 reviews in a few weeks, that's still a lot. All right, Chernobylite. Science fiction survival horror experience.
Open and dynamically changing.
Okay, yeah, we did talk about this before.
Complete 12 replayable quests.
I don't know about this naming, the, you know, numbering the quests and the missions and stuff. Like, ooh, 12 quests. I love games that have 12 quests.
Each with their own personality.
I don't play games with 11 quests. This is definitely a viable genre. The survival, I think, if we were looking at Kingblade's graphs or his spreadsheet, if you did early access survival post-apocalyptic, there would be a lot of successful games with that combination. All right, Beat Hazard. It's a rhythm game. Premium music streaming. Okay, so you can stream your favorite stuff and play along with it. It's a cool feature. It's not totally clear from this trailer like how the music impacts the gameplay. But yeah, music games, rhythm games, they do well on Steam. So again, with Kingblade's spreadsheet, you would probably find quite a few doing well. Rebel Inc. Yeah, it makes it seem more like you are actually doing something real, not just pushing buttons. Yeah, I think that's pretty good and fairly zeitgeisty. And yeah, that kind of strategy simulation seems like a viable niche on Steam, and probably not that difficult to make that sort of game, right? It's mostly UI, and then the cutscenes and the flavor and whatnot. So I think that this is a genre that's, you know, available to indies and pretty small teams as well. That's cool to see. And Roof Rage, I've been following this one for a while. Yeah, the art is great. It looks like it has a satisfying feel. Oh, local 8 players, so this could be one of the games that the new Steam system could be used for. Vaguely Smash Bros-ish, which makes me happy. Was it early access? It was. Okay, now it's full launch. Yeah, I wonder if it has the empty lobbies problems, because it looks like it didn't have a massive number of reviews, so it didn't sell insanely well. Good score though, 94% positive, so it must have good game feel. But yeah, something like this I think is difficult. Like Rivals of Aether is probably the best selling example of this sort of thing. Yeah, I suppose looking at that, you might think that it's viable, but I think it's a difficult niche to succeed in. All right, well, let's keep going. We got a lot of homework still to do before we can play some Disco Elysium. Next up is checking out the Steam Top 50 to see what's new and to help us identify the trends and see if anything is shifting. PUBG is at the top because it's 50% off. CSGO is usually near the top. Rainbow Six is on sale. Destiny 2, it's just going to be parked near the top for quite a while. I imagine. Stellaris, why are you here? Well, they had a diary. Okay, major update. Yeah, so they had a big update. That explains why Stellaris is in the back at the top of the charts. All right, Dota is always around. Richman 10. What the heck is this? Very negative. Came out yesterday. I'm curious. I love it when things surprise me like this. Big flying die. What? Okay, is it a Mario Party kind of game? What? It must be. Yeah. What even is happening? I don't know what's happening, but I like it. So it's like a Chinese-developed Mario Party game. But yeah, let's look at the reviews and see. Well, okay, online mode keeps disconnecting. Can't play multiplayer. Okay. 4 is way better than this trash. I mean, is this like the 10th game in the series or something? Okay, are most of the reviews in Chinese? Yeah. Okay, so only 16 are in English. But even the Chinese ones are pretty negative. Interesting. Alright, that was a fun surprise. The China effect is still in full force on Steam, so a game can get into the charts just because it's doing well in China. So Fallout 4 is just here because it's on sale. GTA 5 gets a fist shake. Elder Scrolls Online is usually around. Dying Light just because it's on sale. A Secret Neighbor came out yesterday. A multiplayer secret role game. Isn't Secret Neighbor an Epic exclusive? Oh, that would be interesting. Strack, if true. Yeah, well, if this was an Epic exclusive, it would warrant more scrutiny. So let's check it out. Secret Neighbor franchise is very popular with young children. What? Do they have physical games or toys or something? It's like it's cutesy, but also sort of spooky. What else in the top 50? Warframe is usually around. Dead by Daylight is on sale. War Thunder is usually around. Dishonored's just here because it's on sale. Yeah, Rust. It shouldn't be this high. Patch. Oh, a Halloween patch. Okay, maybe people are playing it because of that. Don't Starve Together is usually not this high either. Maybe they had a Halloween event too? Yeah. Yeah, looks like it happened yesterday. Hallowed Nights. Okay, so that's spiking it into the charts. New character. Okay, thanks, Jesse. You would know. Jesse works at Clay. All right, Hitman. NBA. It's in the charts despite, you know, it's weird. It launched at 33% off. Or it launched a month ago and it's already 33% off. 15% is so low. Rocket League, it's not usually this high. So Disco Elysium, we're going to be checking it out later. Tropico is just here because it's on sale. Yeah, a lot of these games seem like Northgard. They're not usually this high. I wonder if there's just not a lot of new games that are climbing into the charts and pushing things down lately. Black Desert Online is often around. TF2 also. Assetto Corsa, it's just because it's on sale. Atelier Ryza. So this is new. So it's coming the 29th. We looked at this last time, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Space Engineers up here because it's on sale. Arc Age Unchained. What is this? It just came out a week ago. They got characters with some sweet animations. What is game? What do you want to do? I just want to be in a void and do some sweet animations. That's what I want to do. Explore the world your way. Not the way your mom wants you to. Mixed reviews. A decent number of reviews since a week ago, but still. Arcade Unchained removes the barrier between you and the ultimate MMO experience. So previously, there was you and there was the ultimate MMO experience, but there was some kind of barrier. But this game just yanked it out. That is not a very good description of what the game is. It's just the ultimate MMO experience. You can have a hobbit house, or you can ride a dragon, or you can have a steampunk jeep, or you can do some pairs figure skating with ice elves. Yeah, it seems extremely risky to make an MMO. So much effort would have to go into it, and you're just betting it all on your launch day. Huh, okay, well, it's in the charts, so there's still an appetite for MMOs on Steam, that's for sure. It's basically a remake of the old Arcade. Okay, I was not aware of it. Popular MMO from Korea, that makes sense. Why they would find some audience, at least. Lords Mobile. Left 4 Dead is just here because it's on sale. Code Vein we talked about last time. Final Fantasy is usually around. Monster Hunter is just on sale. Football Manager Touch. Yeah, calling it Touch seems a little weird. You'd think that people would not want to buy it on PC then, but it is selling. Gundam's Generation, okay, it's coming soon. SD Gundam G generation cross rays. That's a mouthful. Let's check it out. I do like some Gundam shows. They're kind of chibi Gundam. The sweet ultimate move. I don't know, they just don't look tough when they're chibi like that. So it's a tactics game. I might like it. Long-running series in Japan. It is turn-based on a grid. Okay, that was not clear from the trailer whatsoever. Where's the grid? Why are they not showing the grid? That's ridiculous that they're not showing any actual gameplay. Okay, well, we'll see if that remains in the charts when it comes soon. Yeah, usually when they have pre-orders, they do have some kind of date, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is usually around. 2 Point Hospital is just on sale. Crossroads Inn. Okay, this just came out. Start out with logo. Clabater. Drop some coins like on your face. You're lying on the ground and someone is making it rain coins on your face. Some of them rolling around. The old golden skull. Shattered, obviously. These are powerful coins. The coins come, the gold melts. Everything melts, coins are unaffected. These are special coins. They do what they want. When they touch paper, they produce blood-like ink. Beer is impervious to coin damage, as it should be. This is the king of beers, though, with the crown. This is Crossroads Inn. I hope they... Yeah, these coins are totally OP. I hope they have another trailer that actually shows some gameplay. Oh, that is the weirdest trailer I think we've seen in years. What is gameplay? We're gonna find it out. The very important tavern, yes. Real-time management sim. Okay. Okay, gameplay. Frame rate is bad. Build your own fantasy tavern. Why is this trailer bad? Like, there's no sound effects. The music is really quiet. 58% positive. It's not too bad, and it only came out a couple days ago. So this number of reviews is actually not bad. They're on the downslope of the ROI curve. Yeah, I think so. RK. That was a fun surprise. Thank you, Crossroads Inn. All right, eFootball PES. We talked about that already. Fallout New Vegas is just here because it's on sale. Skylines. Yeah, it's usually around here somewhere, but it's usually a bit further down. It's usually like in the 50s rather than in the 40s. Path of Exile is usually around. Dungeons 3. Just because it's on sale. It's a couple years old. Euro Truck Simulator. Long Dark's on sale. Railway Empire's on sale. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition. Okay, this just came out recently. It's $50. This icon here is like so bad. Why is it gray? It doesn't look like Digimon's at all. It doesn't have any monsters in it. I don't understand Digimons. I like Pokemons. Why would you watch Digimons instead of Pokemons? I do not understand what's going on in this. Rise of Industry is here because it's on sale. It's on the front page. So yeah, maybe when you put on sale and you do a stream, just the number of people that are going to your store page because of the sale will give you views, and those views might be enough to get you on the front page. Alright, Kerbal is up here because it's on sale. Bloodstained the same. Payday the same. World of Tank. So Autonauts, we'll check that out. And Moons of Madness, we'll check those two out before we move on. So Autonauts was in the charts for the last couple weeks. It's a pretty funny trailer. Yeah, that was a fun song. Yeah, cute-ish Factorial game. But it's amazing just how much... There's just so many games like this where you just like make stuff out of stuff and other stuff, and then you scale up and make even more stuff. The theme of this is not especially different either. It's just kind of cute. It has programmery aspects. Okay. But yeah, it's just amazing to me how much appetite there is for automation games, despite them not being like that hooky. Because it's cute and whatnot, and that was a good song, a good trailer. I liked it. But how is this different from the other ones? There's a lot of them, right? So I don't know if you're ever considering making one of these things. You know, there's plenty of indies that have done this recently and done well. It's an entirely viable genre if this is your thing. You don't even need to be that hooky, really. Oh yeah, Moons of Madness. What's this about? I don't believe I've heard of this. You know, parts of that seemed pretty scary, but parts of it didn't really. I would have definitely made that shorter and only gone with the really spoopy parts. But selling okay. Was in the top charts still. It came out just a couple days ago. Yeah, maybe we should play that one for our Halloween stream. But yeah, definitely horror is a viable genre on Steam. I personally don't really understand how to make a good horror game, so it would feel risky to me because I don't know, narrative stuff I don't understand. I understand mechanics and how to make, you know, interesting hooky mechanics. All right, so let's check out the new and trending to make sure we didn't miss anything important. Strategic Mind the Pacific. Why are they showing these awkward faces? This guy's smiling. He's happy about Pearl Harbor. They're playing hype music, but like nothing is happening. Yeah, so like niche-ish war games definitely still have a market on Steam, but you have to keep your budget low, I think. See, I think these folks made a skiing game before. Looked very like physics funny stuff happening. Now they made a bike game. Yeah, it took a while to get to the funny stuff. Yeah, this kind of game, people like playing physicsy games on YouTube and on their streams and whatnot. Allows them to laugh, especially if it's multiplayer. No, yeah, if it were multiplayer, it would do even better. But doing all right. Abandoned Ship, and they're streaming too. I feel like we saw this before, or was there another game that was very similar to this? Like an FTL-ish game, but with Navy ships. The combat seemed a little samey to me. So the view was the same every time, and it was not clear kind of like how we were, what we were doing and how it all works. Oh, all right, check out AI War, and then we'll move on. So yeah, this type of game is kind of an old schoolish game, but can still succeed, I guess. Sell. Yeah, probably be difficult to be profitable at these kinds of numbers. If this is like an early access launch, it was an early access for a while. The most devious and acclaimed artificial intelligence in strategy gaming returns. Yeah, I do think that it's possible to be viable in this type of genre, but you probably need a hook to make it more interesting, and the visuals and whatnot are a little bit old school. I do remember the AI War, the original one, so I guess it makes sense. It's probably similar to that. Okay, let's look at the look at Harbor's graph. I'm gonna reload it in case it's been updated. So this is what Harbor does to keep track of releases over time. And yeah, recently we were surprised by this bump because we were like getting close to. So this sort of tan color is 2019, and we were getting back close to the 2017 and 2018 numbers. And then again recently, but we've tailed off. We're still quite far off of blue, 2017, which is when Steam Direct happened. But yeah, we're still below the last few years. So again, you know, people were worried about Indiepocalypse, where there'd just be more and more games forever until every single human on Earth was developing indie games. I don't think that is going to happen. Let's play some Disco Elysium. It is 3:30 already. Why does it always take so long to go through all the stuff? There's so many things, because I only do the Clark Take every 3 weeks now. Art is very pretty. The beautiful colors. I don't know what's going on with the sky there, but it looks neat. Oh, archetype. Thinker is extremely intelligent, very bad with people, knows interesting facts, comes up with original ideas. Okay, so you got different stats here. The very psychological and magnetic personality, but unstable, might begin to lose his mind. All right, well that sounds like the one that's probably the most interesting to play, so let's try that. Is it all voiced like this? That would be pretty impressive. I did this to myself.
Yes, you're one disco mother.
What does that mean? I'm a brave idiot. That sounds like me.
Sore bloated man.
Why is it about disco? Are we going to find out? Or is it just a weird thing about the game? We had a bit too much fun last night. Is there any left? Well, We had a perception. You hear a jingle. Keys are clanking in the pocket of your flare-cut pants. Oh, she sounds so disdainful. Okay, so we got a special thing here. We got a 58% chance of succeeding. Try the expression on her. Let her know you want her physically. This is a PG show. I'm not gonna do that. This is where the lyrics would be. Big old karaoke mic. Hey, I like karaoke. Let's do it. Can we do it? Maybe it's not karaoke night yet. There's a lot of reading in this game. There we go. We got it. All right, we try to find our way home. Now, do we have inventory and stuff here? So what are all these buttons? Whoa. Let's see if we can do this. Let go of your nose without throwing up. Whoa, we rolled a 12. As you breathe in, the odor comes over you. It's a spell of the mind telling you to run, and your stomach to wring itself empty. With your hands at your sides, your eyes squinting, you stand in it. Unfiltered wellspring of imagination, emotion, and foreboding. It's weird. Are they making this stuff up? Or Inland Empire? I've never heard of that before as referring to like the human psyche. I think I got the general idea of how the game works. And yeah, it's past 4 o'clock, so time to wrap things up. But as we were discussing, yeah, what is the ROI for a game like this? It would require so much work to make this. If it's got 1 million words, all that voiceover, a ton of art, and like so much design effort would have to go into this as well. It's like years and years of effort. And, well, let's see how well it's selling on Steam right now. So it's selling for $40, and it's got 1,200 reviews already. So if we use the Boxlighter number of 80, it's sold like close to 100,000 units, mostly at full price for $40. So it's already sold 4 million worth. Am I doing that math correctly? About 100,000 units. At $40. Yeah. So, yeah, 5 years. Oh, I'm sure the budget was much more than 1 million. Yeah, this would be many team members to create a game this large and many years of work. So it's probably a couple million. And yeah, seems like it probably will be profitable for them. But yeah, I would say that this is somewhat risky because it's basically an adventure game, a detective adventure game with some RPG elements to it. It is dark, but it's largely narrative based, not your typical hack and slash sort of RPG game. So yeah, I knew about this before its launch, and I was like, I'm not sure how that'll do. So yeah, somewhat risky, but it does seem like their ROI will be pretty good. You could probably get away with making it shorter. As I was saying with that ROI graph at the beginning of the Clark Tank, if it's 30 hours for $40, that's quite a lot. And yeah, 60 hours if you play through everything. You've seen some excitement about it being RPG without combat. Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's noteworthy. It's doing a lot of interesting things. It's hooky. It's hookier than I first thought when I first saw it. I thought that it was just some kind of quirky narrative game in an interesting world or whatever, but the way that you actually play it is hooky. So it's got post-play virality, not as much pre-play virality, which is another thing I talked about in my talk at GIC in Poland, is that virality is the measure of how a game can spread through an audience, how awareness of that game can spread. And there's two kinds of virality. There's virality that can take effect before you actually play the game, which I call pre-play virality, and there's post-play virality, which can occur after you've played it. And this game seems to have good post-play virality because once you've experienced it, you're like, okay, yeah, these game mechanics are unique. There's nothing really like this that I've seen before, and it makes people talk about it, write press articles about it, and things like that. But if a game doesn't have a lot of pre-play virality, then I think it's risky because during development you can't tell how well it's going to do. Because if your hooks take effect before the game is launched, then you can do things like get a lot of wish lists on your coming soon page because people are talking about it and wishlisting it even before it launches because they're hyped about the trailer that you have on your store page, right? So that can help you to reduce risk. You can properly assess, how big or how small you should make your game, because if you know how many people are wishlisting it, you can have a decent, way of estimating how well you'll do in your launch week. I want to see actually how many views its trailers has. Is that all the videos that they have? Yeah, so their release date trailer had 100,000 views. That's pretty good. And yeah, this came out only about a month ago, so that's a fair number. Yeah, I think I've said before that if you have in the tens of thousands of views on your trailers, especially early teaser trailers, then your game should be probably profitable, as long as we're talking about a reasonably indie-sized budget. So 100,000 views, that's pretty good. Anyway, it definitely seems like the type of game that has good post-play virality because of unique gameplay mechanics, and that's why people are talking about it, and that's why it's selling well. So it makes sense, and it's cool to see, innovative narrative games coming out. We were talking at the very start of the show that adventure game genre is, on the decline, but if you innovate and do something different in the genre, then you can succeed massively, like they seem to be doing. So that's good to see. All right, I think that is going to wrap it up for this Clark Tank. All right, thanks for watching, chums. See you next time.